technically failed to qualify for the Olympics and then was given the chance, right, in the last moments. Egypt minus 75, right? And then when it came to Pan American, who's your best? It was full. Category was full.
Oh no, I didn't know that part of the story.
Yeah. And sometimes, yeah, you have to balance, sometimes we'll have to be honest and I say, Sensei, I need your sensei hat on right now. Not my friend, not my coach. We talk about business, and then sometimes, hey,
I don't need the sensei right now. I need a friend. That you felt like, oh, I want to be like that person one day. Do you have a name?
I did projects in school on George Kataka and John Fonseca. So those two in particular were just, everybody wanted to be like George and John.
A lot of times people don't realize how much of an impact they have in somebody else. They're doing it for their own benefit. How do you see yourself after your competition career is over? Do you see Tom Scott becoming a coach? Tom Scott, the legend, one of the most decorated athletes in U.S. karate history, Captain America. You have accomplished so many things, multiple times Pan American champion, world medalist. You went to the Olympics, something that not many people can say. So you have a very, very successful career, and you're still competing, and you're still competing at the highest level. Everybody knows your resume. Everybody can go online, Google it. Everybody can see on your profile. But we want to hear from you. If you would have to describe Tom Scott in 3 bullet points in a short way, who is Tom Scott?
I would just say that with Tom Scott, there's a lot of gratitude. There's certainly desire, and there's hopefully by the end of it all a long career. My for me, one of my biggest achievements is to just be going this long, right? And it's an achievement by a whole team, right? And I'm definitely not afraid to admit that, right? In fact, it's the team that gets it done, right? So from my wife to Sensei to the teammates, even my children contribute to that dream, right? So there's a team behind Tom.
A very humble answer. It's about you, but it's also about the team behind you. Everybody that supported, everybody that be part of it. And there is not only all the way to do it. You have to have a team. If not, it will be a very short career. And you have proven to have a very successful career, a long career, which is very impressive because I have athletes that have been able to peak for a year or two, but in your case, you've been on the top for many, many years. Be here for a long time and tell more about you. But to be honest, the most impressive thing about you, every time I have interaction with you, is how good of a guy you are, how of a nice person, and your faith. I know that you're a person of faith, and I know it's a big part of your career. Would you mind telling me a little bit about it? Your philosophy when you approach and how you relate that to your career?
Absolutely, and it's so funny that it changes, right? Or it doesn't necessarily change, but it morphs, it grows, So I just remember when I was younger in my 20s, and I had that line, I know, and it was so true and core to me that karate was my biggest communicator with God, right? And he helped speak to me through my work, my losses, my wins, it all pointed to me where I was at. And, you know, and then at this point too, I feel it's not that that doesn't happen. There are so many other things that speak to me, you know, that God uses to communicate with me as well, and my family, my children, right? There's nothing bigger and better than your children. But, you know, now, the 22-year-old Tom took losses hard, right?
Okay.
And now I can take a loss, no problem, right? So it's not so much that I'm not guided in that way anymore, the same way, but I think it's just neat that you bring that up, and the way it changes over time, that, you know, a win, a loss nowadays, it's just so different, 10, 15 years later than young Tom, but the energy is still there, the drive is still there, um, you know, it's neat what karate has done for my faith, in over 15 years. So, yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. It's good to hear. You don't hear that very often, to hear that feedback and how faith is a big part of career as an athlete, because we never get the chance, right, to talk to people about it. So
I allowed that to be my number one drive. I allow that to be uh, my goal, even above a title or a medal. And I've always seen it as a secret weapon that liberated me to perform well too. If you know, because I've still had plenty of moments where I didn't live up to what I preach, and I was nervous about losing, or I wanted that medal too bad, and of course I forgot to kick and punch, and I lost. Right, so you know, for me, when everything's in the right uh, priority, then I'm free to kick and punch and enjoy it, and the medals, they come easier that way.
absolutely, and the joy become different, the mindset become different, especially too with having kids. Now you have two beautiful children, and is that your perspective change in life, and you have it doesn't mean that karate is not a priority. It just means that everything you take everything into consideration to make your decisions and to decide what's most important and what's not. And maybe maybe it's a tip that younger athletes could learn. I know sometimes we have to experience things to learn it, but maybe by listening, it could be, hey, there is another way to approach this, and it's not taking the losses or taking it so hard, because you have to see overall the long career. So you mentioned 15 years. 15 years, that's a long time. Having a very successful career and still competing at the highest level. If you have to pick one event or one time of your life, is there one that comes to mind where the beast like that is so far, because you still have way to go, but so far, what has been the highlight? You'd say, I remember this event because of this, and it changed anything.
Yeah. It's funny. I've learned to say the next one, you know. So, in this case, tomorrow is my favorite one.
But I'm gonna put you on the spot and make you answer one from the past. Yeah, is there one that comes to mind as a, wow, that was sweet, and I enjoyed that one.
I mean, I think there's so many, right? Of course, one that's close to me right now is the and it is one moment as well, but it's a combination of a year-long span of my first ever injury. You know, mm, we at the Pan American Championships, we won our individual title, and in 2004, and the next day tore my Achilles in Team Kumite. And we got home, had surgery, and 2 weeks after that, we were working out. Without a doubt, there was never a this is it. And it can't, because that couldn't have been it. Like, we wouldn't. Again, my whole team behind me, that was never going to be the way that needed to end, right? So there was no question we were coming back. And 8 months later, we had team trials. 1 year later, we were at Pan Am's again, and we did it again, off of that injury. And, I don't recommend to anyone to tear their Achilles, and that was my first and hopefully ever one and only major injury. But neat now on this side of it to say that I had that injury experience. I look at a lot of these things too that, one day when I'm either and raising my son and daughter, and I'll be able to relate to them in every way. I won things I wanted to win. I lost things I wanted to win. I didn't get things I wanted to get. I had an injury that we had to come back for. So we're building this library of stories to relate, to help, again, pass on to somebody that may need it. So, I got my injury experience now, and it turns out, God let it be an amazing, wonderful, victorious experience, which it didn't have to be even, but it ended up being. And again, I attribute that to the team. I attribute that to everybody pushing me and allowing me to keep going. And so, and I attribute that to again, when after an injury like that, an injury that, 1,000 years ago, I'm left behind, right? And you tear an Achilles, and it occurs to you that, like, in a certain day and age in human history, that was it. You're done. Like, I mean, or you'll limp or you'll fall behind the pack, right? So it's weird to think about. Thank God for modern technology and to get that back in, right? It's incredible. And so to even be able to compete at all and train and run, it was so happy to run, that helped me fight well, and I'll remember in the 2025 Pan American Championships, every round, in the middle of matches, I was just smiling, right? Because I'm happy that I can do this. And so it was neat to be able to just, again, having fun. I had a high level, but what does it matter anymore? You're just, it was just like any kid competing at any tournament. It was just fun. So,
Yeah.
And that came from that Achilles experience.
Wow. So that experience make you appreciate the ability to do it again and do it and take it a different route.
And not worry about winning or losing anymore, right?
Yeah. Learning how to enjoy the experience, and that's something we lose when we concentrate so much on a goal and on a medal or a result. Then we lose that enjoyment. Yeah, interesting. I was expecting for you to say something about the world medal or something like that, and you had a answer completely opposite. But I can understand now why. Is the
And even because, and the world medal is so special, and the Olympics was so special, but they were still losses at the end of the day too, and so it's like I love them and I cherish them, and they are exactly what I needed them to be for me. But dang, they'll always, I want more. So I think they are special and they drive me. But again, yeah, they are what I need them to be.
I'm going to ask you a quick favor. Please go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you haven't done so, just click that button. That helps us grow the channel and that helps us grow our karate community. Our goal is to bring content to you every week. And don't forget, Wednesday is the Karate TV Day. So every Wednesday you can expect a new upload. Now, enjoy the podcast. Okay. We talk about, all the high stuff, the medals, the Olympics, the World Championship, all the Pan American Championships. Is there one event in particular that comes to mind as heartbreaking, as one result that was like make you feel really low and down? Because people always talk about the good times and the enjoyment, but anything you want to share?
Sure. I mean, probably my lowest moment, because even like, okay, my world medal, I lost the semifinal 1-0, and and it was just so close. But and I still had a medal match. I never let myself grumble. We came back. It was a positive day. It was and a wonder and a life dream, right? So, I can't complain too hard about that. The Olympics is so special. Everybody was celebrating. Um, and again, my story, I had technically failed to qualify for the Olympics and then was given the chance, right, in the last moments. So that was special, right? I mean, I can't complain having lost at the Olympic Games because I almost and probably should have wouldn't have been there. So, but my worst spot was a span of 3 months and a span of three tournaments, and that was the the final three tournaments of Olympic qualification right before COVID. And I had the Olympic qualification in the world ranking and was looking good, and I just needed to maintain, okay, a medal here or there, or win just some rounds, win some rounds. And I went out first round 3 times, 3 months in a row, and I was like, and it was just right. And I failed to listen to the things that I preach and I know in my heart that I should be focused on. And I was, I guess, with everything on it, it was very revealing in that moment. And I was just kind of, I didn't do it right, right. And so, and then COVID saved me. It right before I had to go to I lost it in the world ranking. It was time for the Paris qualifier, Olympic qualifier tournament, which I should do well at, but I was not in the mood for it, right? I just didn't want to be there. I had a year to think about it, right? The Olympics and everything was postponed. So I got to train, fall in love with the sport again, and just train to train for a year. And you know, that was special.
Yeah.
And, but that, again, for that Olympic story, I should have had it in the Paris qualifier. I lost there, right? And then finally, the third phase, I would have had it in the continental inclusion because I had taken gold at the Pan American Games in Lima. So I had my ticket there. But when they started the continental inclusion, there were 2 spots left in every category. And so they go to Oceanic first. Who's your best? Could be a heavyweight male or kata or anybody. A minus 75,
Wow.
Australian. Then they went to Africa. Who's your best world ranked person that has not yet made it? Egypt minus 75, right? And then when it came to Pan American, who's your best? It was full. Category was full.
Oh no, I didn't know that part of the story.
Yeah. So I had it and lost it in all three phases. But it gives me chills to think about because, it was the only way that my whole team could go. And so Brian was the highest ranked Pan American Lima gold medalist, so he went. And we were prepared to go to Tokyo as a training partner during COVID, which would have meant I don't get to see the venue or watch him. I get to go train with him, eat, go back to my hotel room, and sleep for 2 weeks in Tokyo. And that was kind of a bummer to prepare for. But of course, it was like, Brian, we can do something here. I'm going to help him everything I got. I'm going to Tokyo. And it was just a month. I mean, a month before the games, maybe a month and a half, that then there was a doping incident, and then it went back to the world ranking, and I got to go. Right, so the category was full. I was out for for about a month. I got to deal with that, process that, and I was at peace though. I it was such an incredible run, and then there was opportunity, and it was given to me, right? And in fact, is the only way, if you calculate it out, that Brian and I could go, right? So it was just such a wild story for us to both be able to be there like that, and so of course, I think I may have been one of the last athletes from across like all sports for Team USA to get into the Olympic Games at all. About a month and a half before. So it was, I'll take all of it, right? And I like that again, that it's what it needed to be for me, and God allowed it. It was just it was very interesting. So, yeah, that the Olympic story comes out of that spiral, though, of the 3 months I wasn't listening, I wasn't paying attention, and I just was grumbling and no
Wow,
gratitude.
what a good story. And I'm trying to think now about, as an athlete, all the things that go to your mind for those the whole time, the stress, the anxiety of thinking about, can I go in, can I not, or I lost it 3 times, that you were saying. Is it has to be like, very, very hard mentally.
It's yes, it's hard, but I knew, and I had always been taught, and we had always set ourselves up that this was my communicator, right, with God. And so I was open to being molded. I was, even if I made mistakes and I was not having the right mindset and losing, I mean, then I accepted that this whole process is to make me a better person, first and foremost. And so I can roll with it, and the losses and the missed opportunities and the wins here and there. So, you know, yeah, you only really want to get deeper and deeper in the sport if you have that high purpose and you are open to higher callings, like becoming a better person, or listening to God. Otherwise, yeah, I feel bad for the athletes that are in it for the medals and nothing else, and because it's going to be a rough road. And you're right, like, just to what you're saying, it's going to be not always there, or not even with the gold medals. Are you satisfied? Right?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be had from elite level competition that's not just I did it, right?
You can still get many medals and still be empty, and still feel that you haven't accomplished, and that feeling. The feeling is the most important part, not the medals, for sure, for sure. I know also a big part of your career. I have to mention that you have a great relationship with your coach, with Sensei Brody. I think, we talk about Tom, we have to talk about Sensei Brody, and tell me a little bit about that I don't know, that chemistry, and how special it is. And
Absolutely. So, I mean, where to start? I think it is neat, to have somebody who's your your friend, your sensei, your boss, your mentor, and sometimes, yeah, you have to balance. Sometimes we'll have to be honest, and I say, Sensei, I need your sensei hat on right now, not my friend, not my coach. We talk about business, and then sometimes, hey,
I don't need the sensei right now. I need a friend. I need to tell you something. And that relationship, yeah, I'm sure. Um,
yeah. And so there's been plenty of moments where we're wearing the wrong hats, and it doesn't.
you make it work. You make it work. And like any relationships, there is moments that somebody finds something that is not working well, and you fix it and you keep working on it. Relationships you have to work on. It's like anything else. Not everything is going to be color roses all the time. That's not.
Absolutely. And I'm lucky to have that particular relationship. I mean, when I started in the dojo, I was 8 years old, and our dojo was a small dojo, and we competed in local Texas karate and taekwondo tournaments. So yeah, yeah, and that was our world. And I can't say that my vision for the top, wasn't also inspired by his vision for more, right? For the school, for his athletes, for himself. I mean, he just has. So we branched out of Texas, looked for, got involved with AAU, and we grew up in there a lot. Was still hungry for the best and the top, and found USA Karate, got involved, and he's always just got heavily involved, whether it was coaching or administration and the organizations he's a part of. And I'm just proud of him for everything that he does. And the neatest part, and it makes me proud, because I know that I really do want to achieve in this sport, because he gives me he gives me his time, right? So, he'll laugh at that later, that he can recognize serious desire or semi desire, or right, he's got a nose for talent, or not just talent, but the whole thing. And so that makes me proud because he did give me his time, a lifetime, at this point, and still does. Yeah. He, again, if we're talking about the team behind Tom, I mean, the Olympics were only possible because of him, because and not just the training and the knowledge. He I bought into the karate school. It was and is still my full-time career, and it allows it, right? And not only allows it, but has it it flourishes it. It keeps it alive, right? And it keeps it going well. So he pushes me out the door. He wants me to go on these trips, right? Where unfortunately most American karate athletes are fighting for vacation time, or how to balance, impossible to balance school and competitions, or work and competitions. So, you know, yeah, having him and has just been one of the ultimate factors in allowing all of this, right? And the Premier League medals and the just the time, constant dedication in our routine. And so and that goes way back too. I mean, even before the Olympics, we're always proud because in like 2016 when the Olympics was announced and karate was going to be in it, we laughed and shrugged our shoulders because our day to day didn't change at all, right? We already saw ourselves as Olympic athletes. We already saw ourselves, and we knew how to work in quads of 4 years because of the Pan American Games, and so nothing changed. We already doing all the workouts every day and the trainings and the focus and the writing the books and video review. And
That's very, very good to understand a little bit the mindset and how you go from one role to the other one, but you'll still give it your very best and you still accomplish good things. And that brings me to my next question. I know you're still competing and you still, you will know when will be the right time to stop or how many years you have left. But how do you see yourself after your competition career is over? Do you see Tom Scott becoming a coach? Do you see Tom Scott becoming, I know you have your education as well, but what do you see Tom Scott in a few years?
man, Tom yeah, Scott in a few years. Man, it's funny. I try. Well, it's not that I even try not to think about it, but there's just so much to think about now that, and I keep my head down but I'm confident it'll be certainly coaching. I'll certainly still be sensei in the dojo, and I love doing that, and it brings me a lot of satisfaction. So I'll be in karate for life for sure, but I think probably the coaching world. I think yeah, it's gonna be fun, and I think I can offer a lot. So it'll be a neat, good new challenge in a different way. But I've seen, we've all seen athletes who were not good coaches, non-athletes that were great coaches, and all the combinations in between. I just feel like I hopefully will have a self-awareness to, you know, again, not think too highly of myself and get more focused on the athlete and be open to criticism, be open to learning the role of a coach and to be the best coach that I can be. So, because I think a lot of athletes may like take on the coaching role as like deserved, right? Um, and not maybe see it as a new path of growth, just like when you were an athlete, of growth and achievement, and needing to still be coachable yourself and all of that. So hopefully I'll be able, again, and with my good team behind me, be open and willing and learning coach myself.
Yeah, just be doing it for a while. You still have a lot of things to learn on that area, right? Um, you do you have a person? I mean, I understand not as a mentor, but as an athlete that you admire, that you grew up, maybe when you were younger or anytime that you feel like that person had an influence on me, not because you talked to him or anything like that, just because the way he performed or the way he acted. You had somebody when you were younger, maybe now the Tom Scott right now, that you felt like, oh, I want to be like that person one day. Do you have a name?
Oh yeah, I mean, I did, I did projects in school on George Kataka and John Fonseca. So those two in particular were just, everybody wanted to be like George and John. So, you know, I'll never forget when like the, I think, well, I was like maybe 15 or 14 at a nationals, and they like sat down over by my ring, uh, and that just meant the world that they were watching, and oh yeah, and so I fought great that day, So, but I think those guys for sure, and I still remember the projects and giving the presentation in class and stuff. So the they they influenced me for sure. And when I was 18 and just starting my senior career, and I got to go to the World Championships in Tokyo in 2008, and as a seventh man on Team Kumite, right? So I didn't get to go for kilo or even open Kumite. They had open at the time, and they you know being in that team with them for a couple years, and just moving with them. Oh yeah, and punching with them. Yeah, it just um, impacted me, right? And I witnessed George, win the world championship there, and that was amazing. John, I witnessed him, you know, still fighting on like he literally had like a broken ankle or something, and he's out there, he's fighting, and so I mean, it was neat to witness their toughness and their desires.
But you also had the chance to compete with them and train with them, because a lot of times you had somebody many years ago you never saw, you never experienced, but having the chance to be that close, and you being part of that group, that is amazing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think a lot of times people don't realize how much of an impact they have in somebody else. They're doing it for their own benefit, but they don't know how impactful they are, and how the 14-year-old Tom Scott feel like the best day in the world when they're watching you compete. Yeah. Yeah. Do, do you now that you have two kids, how old are your kids now?
So my son is 3.5, he'll be 4 soon, and then my daughter just turned 1.
To keep up with the training schedule and everything like that. And the reason I'm asking this, that brings me memories when I was training, right? When I was trying to be on the U.S. team, and that year that I made it, I remember, like I still remember, and putting my kid to bed to take a nap, and just going running in the street close so I can watch him, make sure he doesn't wake up or anything. So I still remember, found a way, but it makes it so much more special because of that, right? You also want to do it because you want your kid to to know that the dad did something special and everything. So how does it change your view, or how does it affect your training, your kids?
I think, well, I'd be remiss if I didn't, thank my wife for still pushing me into the dojo, still wanting me to go on these trips, even though it's not easy, for her. And so, weekends away and or a week here and there it takes coordination where, and she she's behind it, but it does wear on her, and it wears on me, that it wears on her a little bit, and with one child it was easier, with two it's getting tougher, you know and so it it's a challenge, and it's getting more and more challenging, but it does make it worth something, so when we do something special, it's it makes it worth it. I think having the children are certainly a secret weapon for me that, I can't lose. Even if I lose, I'll go home and there they are, so you can't, so I can fight. I'm not gonna hesitate because, at the end of the game, the end of the day, this is just a game, you know. So, but it's getting tough. It's getting tough with two kiddos, and so, I think continuing to get creative on. I mean, we're lucky we have our sets of grandparents nearby, and not everybody has that. So I think, but again, even with grandparents nearby, even with getting creative, it's my wife that carries that part. So it's it would be impossible otherwise.
I relate to that because if you ask my wife about karate and all the sacrifices, all the trips and everything, it takes. I mean, it takes a toll on the wife, especially and the house and everything. So it has to be. If you don't have that support, it's very hard. So we're lucky that we have wives that support what we do. And maybe we have to do like a special episode with so the wife can be in the chair and we can talk about the wife and understand it from their point of view. You know,
Be awesome.
yeah, yeah. I think like you say, everybody has their part on 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 somebody's success. But we are so happy that we had the chance to talk to you and exchange some words and understand more a little bit of your life and your background and your mindset. And I just want to say that we are all so happy that you have been so successful because you are such a nice person. And I always remember Tom Scott is super talented, super accomplished. But when somebody asks me, "Hey, do you know Tom Scott?" the first thing that comes to mind is one of the nicest guys I ever met. So yes, keep at it, and hopefully you become a coach and you become to pass your knowledge to the next generation, and you become to be a great role model like you still are. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed that. Thank you. Like in all honesty, I need to hear myself say that. I need to, hear those questions and hear it out too. So no, I really enjoyed this one. This was special. So
Well,
thank
thank
you.
you.